Hey.
Hey,
I'm Domo.
and I'm Danny.
Welcome to season 2 of the I'm Saved But podcast. Um, we are back, season 2. Super excited. Our
Yes,
hope, right? Our hope through this podcast is to create a space where people can feel transparent, be transparent. What is it? Talk transparently
apparently.
about what their walk with God looks like.
We're also so excited to invite you into our friendship and intimate conversations about life and our relationship with Christ.
Absolutely. And at the end of the day, our hope is to help millennial Christians transition from being so heavy in religion to more of a relationship with God, because that's where you reap the most benefits, getting past religion and focusing in on the relationship. So this is our first live with BFFL, Best Friend Friday Live. This is our first one. We're super excited. So welcome. Just to give you a little bit about BFFL, um, our hope and our purpose behind BFFL is to show how God uses our relationships to draw us closer to Him. So our friendships, our marriages, any relationship, people that we meet, those same things that we use in those worldly relationships are tools as to how easy the relationship with God could go. We're hoping to draw connections between how our relationships reflect our relationships with God. And we're gonna interview a couple friendships, couple relationships to share insight on how they work, right? To show how their relationships reflect what God has for them or who God is in their lives
Now, today, y'all, today, all
today.
right, we couldn't think of another couple, two better people, okay, to launch this new segment of the Unsaved But podcast than two people that we have known for over a decade. Can
Over
y'all
a
believe over a decade? Almost 15 years. We have
decade.
known them. I cannot believe it. Okay, today we are excited to be interviewing Chris and Joy Mitchell. So
Come
make some noise for them in the
on
chat. Hey, y'all. Hey.
Hey y'all, hey.
in. Come on in. How y'all doing today? How's everything?
Not too bad. Coming off work. It's Friday, so I'm happy.
Absolutely. I'm glad we remembered it was Friday because I was with you
Look.
yesterday thinking that yesterday was Friday. The days start combining after Tuesday.
Yeah,
So
I don't know how I did that. I was like, yeah, I did that wrong.
it's cool. We made it. We here. So that's all that matters. Take a second to introduce yourselves. Just kind of tell us where y'all are. If y'all got like some businesses, where's life, all that. Give us a little bit about
You want to read it first?
You go first.
you.
All right. Hey, y'all. My name is Chris Mitchell. Christopher Milton Dennis Mitchell the first. Yeah. We're actually currently in my office. It's been a long day of work today. I work for a college in the Midwest as an associate director at the Center for Black Studies. And yeah, I'm an entrepreneur as well. And I'm a student. Fingers crossed, prayers up, sending wings and prayers. Chicken wings and prayers. I'm a PhD candidate and doctoral student. I will be finished hopefully this year, 2023, December, with my PhD.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the prayer. That's what I'm working towards. I'm a father, I'm a husband, obviously. I'm a business owner. I'm a stylist, and I am a master ceremony.
What's your answer?
My website is saysofresh.com. So if you need a stylist or if you need an event host, anything you got coming up, weddings, mitzvahs, backyard parties, you need a host, I'm the man. If you want to get fresh, need a stylist, I got you. Men and women, that's a little bit about me.
Who styles all people?
Yeah,
All people, all sizes.
Yeah.
I am an educator too. So yeah, I'm like nerdy smart. So that's why I'm with that.
Cool.
Sorry, shouldn't have me go first.
All right. Um, my name is Joy Mitchell. I also work in higher ed. We actually work at the same institution. So if you know us, you know where we work. Uh,
Yep.
I'm an administrator in student conduct, and and I also have a small business. I do portrait photography. My website is joymitchellphotography.com. So please hit me up because that's another thing that I do. Um, I'm a mother, mom of three, full time working mom, entrepreneur. Yeah, we're both really busy millennials. So that's a bit about it. Not so much.
Awesome. I love it. I think one thing for sure, like I said, when thinking about couples that kind of always in the back of my mind, I think y'all are like always there just because y'all always doing something. Like, I don't think I've ever met like, especially with like multiple kids, like really out here like pursuing y'all dreams and doing it. So I definitely want to say like kudos to y'all. Y'all kicking butt. I love it.
They are amazing.
I love it. All right, let's jump into it. Because we want to be respectful of the people's time, you know. Um,
Amen.
we thought that since we already know the way that we all connected was through, a choir and singing, right?
Yeah.
We'd kind of break the ice with a song association game.
Oh,
Ah,
So we gonna put
come
y'all
on back.
against each other.
some
Couples
fun.
love a little friendly competition, right?
Mhm.
So we got a couple words for you. We're gonna shout out a word. First person to give us a song with that word in it will win that round, and we'll do 4 rounds. So whoever get the best out of 4 get the bragging rights for
Y'all
today.
can't tell me this.
We gotta sneak one in on you. We have,
She's a musical almanac.
but I mean, Chris, you've been in music ever too, so
Give him a mic. He'll start singing.
Or just talk it.
he was about to get that one. Chris was ready for that one. All right, well, Chris got it round 1. Chris got it. All right, here we go. Y'all ready?
Yep.
Next word is joy.
Joy to the world, the Lord.
Oh,
Let earth
uh,
be her
uh,
king.
it's
perfect. All right.
time.
She
Can we get a song with Chris?
tied is tied.
Can we get a song with Chris in it?
I felt it, it was only right to do joy. It just works.
I see where this is going.
What you trying to say, Chris?
Right, what you trying to say?
It's a word. It is a word.
Okay. Yeah,
It is.
it is a
All
word.
right, here we go. Number 3. Let's see. Break the tie. That's happening right now. Happy.
I am happy. Clap along if you feel
What?
without a roof.
He said, I am happy.
What are you singing?
Happiness is the truth. If those are real words. Clap along.
Uh-oh.
Happiness is the truth. Yeah.
All right, it's 2-1. It's 2-1. We gonna,
I know. I'm nervous. Why?
it's 2-1. Let's see what happens on the next one. Y'all ready?
Ready.
All right, next word is God.
Our great God. No, God, great God.
What else is to the lyrics of that? We gotta do that one again. Boy,
I got one.
can we have a redo?
Oh my God.
What is that song you singing?
God, great God.
Who sing it?
A choir.
Do you already?
I actually did because don't it says like God, great God, Jehovah, God, something like that.
Of course you gonna say yes.
Jireh.
No. So maybe it wasn't the song that I was thinking about.
It's
Oh
cool.
God, that's funny.
Oh,
It's cool. It's cool.
It'd be
Oh, they in the chat. They got the words. They got the songs in the chat.
what they got in the chat.
how
They
great
got
is our
how
God?
great is our God.
We should have.
God is.
God is in control. God is in
I
control.
don't know
That
why I'm
was
having a blank.
You got praise and worship leaders and choir directors in your church.
Yes, this ain't fair. These are church people.
Y'all saved in the chat. Y'all
all right. Well, here's the one. Let's see. We got another word. So, are we giving points for that or?
You can have it. You
She
can
can
have it.
have it.
I didn't do it.
I
It's
got
fine.
I got more than enough points. I'm gonna win
Okay.
anyway.
Okay, so it's still 2-1 then. That's what you're saying.
You can give her the point and make it 2-2.
It's okay. You don't have to give me anything.
Okay.
It's all right. Okay, let's see with this one. Come on. See, I told you couples love some competition. That's how it's supposed to go. All right. Next word is this should be an E. I felt like this is the easiest one. Love.
Love,
Love,
a
a
word
word
that
that comes
comes
and
and
goes.
goes,
What's it?
but few people really know.
Oh, perfect. Y'all was like,
And that's on one accord.
Somebody.
perfect. Yes. I love it. I love it. So
Chris is like, I won.
technically Chris won, even though y'all tied with the
Both
last song.
won.
You both won.
I guess we
Yeah,
both.
both won. That was perfect. I knew that was gonna go exactly how I needed it to. I love it. Appreciate y'all. I'm glad we laughing. All right. So
Good job.
we're gonna jump into these questions. So again, just to give a little idea, BFFL, our focus is to think about how our physical earthly relationships can reflect the relationship that we can have with God, right? The same way that we communicate, spend time, give our energy in our natural relationships should be the same focus for what we do with God. And so we're interviewing Chris and Joy. That came out weird. We're interviewing Chris and Joy. It was like Quiz. I don't know why it came out of it. Chris and Joy on their relationship with God and with each other. So, up first, our first question, what is your philosophy on friendship? Like, how would you all define friendship?
For me, the first thing that I think about is reciprocity. Like I feel like it's a give and take in relationship. I feel like it's the same thing with God. Like there's things that we have to do, meeting Him halfway,
Mhm.
and it's reciprocal. So I think that's a big component of it. I think I think friendship is also a space of honesty and truth, where you should be able to be your authentic self. If it's real friendship. Um, and I think trust as well. Those pieces are, my philosophy is all of those things. Like it should be an authentic relationship where you can come as your unapologetic self,
Yeah,
and that you gain is also and also given to it. So again, that reciprocity. So
I love
I would
that.
say friendship is trial and error. Um,
Mm.
and the reason why I say that is because now with the population of people I work with, and with just friends and family, a lot of us give up the minute trials come, and we are so willing to cut off people who offend us or upset us.
I know I do.
She definitely she is a cutter.
I'm better. I'm better. Jokes.
Yeah, she's better, and I'm someone who uh, always looks to mend and keep the bridge, even in hard times. So I think that trial and error, learning each other in all types of relationships is valuable into having a long lasting relationship. And so I would say trial and error, but also I would say transparency and perspective. Transparency meaning just being honest and authentic, and being true to yourself. And then perspective, make sure that you see people as friends and
Mm,
they see you equally as a friend. Personal
definitely.
experiences, viewing people as friends who aren't really your friends, it sucks, especially when you find out, hey, you were never my friend. And so,
Yeah,
They didn't have the same level of commitment to it, or
yeah,
maybe you were more in the friendship than they were.
yeah. That's one thing that me and Bubbles talked about. She says like this piece of advice that I gave her of like you have friends for certain things. Like not everybody is your best friend. Not everybody has the same access to you or you can't really like you said it has to be reciprocated. It has to be the same energy. So it's like if I feel that, it's not happening the same way here, maybe that friendship is not going to be exactly how, the ones who last decades. It really makes a difference. I think I love the point of just like it has to be reciprocated. Like I think that's where a lot of friendships go wrong with not being able, like one person is putting a lot in it and the other one isn't, or just like the expectations are wrong. Like you think everything is going to stay the same, but you got to grow as you all grow, as change and everything.
And I think that kind of falls back on what Chris was saying about the trial and error. It's just like, you that's the way that we learn, and it's necessary. It's a part of the human experience. And I
Mhm.
feel like so many people feel like they got to get it right the first time. So they stay in toxic relationships out of loyalty to time or the way in which they met, instead of saying, you know what, this is a mistake. Whether it's I've outgrown you or this ain't working for me. I think, it's really important. It's just like, like it's okay to make mistakes in your relationships. It's okay to say, hey, this was a bad choice for me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think some
Ah,
friendships too, it's a sometimes it's not meant to be forever. So I
yeah.
think it's okay. You don't have to end something on like a bad note. Like sometimes
Mhm.
people just it's just things change, things
Yeah.
happen, people change. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, y'all said so. I know y'all have been together for forever. So, like, when did y'all meet, and how long has it been?
We met each other. Well, we met each. Okay. So I was her orientation leader at college. The college that we attended. I was a sophomore. She was a freshman.
and that was 04, 2004.
Yeah. So
My God.
we started. We we started talking December 2004. We met. Well, we met like June 2004. Like first
Mhm.
time everybody. December 2004 is when we actually said we're going to officially talk, and then February 2005 is when we started this year. Yeah.
He was trying to hide me though at first. Just
What?
Is that like a college thing? Because I like the
like a
first relationship I got in when I was in college. It was the same way. Like he was trying to hide me. Like, I'm sorry, Chris. I'm sorry.
I'm being and dumb, and I'm like, okay, it's cool, and I'm like,
Right.
why am I doing this? You know, young and dumb.
I had valid reasons.
You did not have valid reasons, but that's not what this show is about.
That's a question for another time.
Uh-huh.
We'll dive into that in part two.
Right. That's funny.
But talking about like just your relationship, something that me and Dominique have been able to actually witness during our time when we were in college. What is your happiest memory with one another?
Happiest. We probably shared different happy memories.
Yeah.
I think it was. When I think about it, it was probably the birth of our first child and the birth of our last, and second and last. Every birth of a child has been like, oh my God, we did it.
Yeah.
Real. This and when we got married.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm. But
and
the first child, yeah, like because we were young, like we weren't. I remember when we got married, we were like, oh, we can have babies in 5 years. And my
Mhm.
sister-in-law always reminds me that she told me to keep those babies in babyland. I remember at my wedding. I was like, okay. And I got pregnant 6 months in.
Oh my goodness.
I'm
Uh,
putting in work. No, I'm playing.
shut up. We watching the show.
We,
Oh god.
we've been together 17 years. If they don't know now,
I mean,
I'm sorry, family. We've had sex. I'm gonna say, like,
speak, Chris. Speak.
If you don't know it by now,
lost my train of thought. What was I trying to say? Anyway, I was pregnant our first year anniversary. So, but yeah, when we had Nyla, I think we were both scared. I remember when we got the pregnancy test. Chris' cousin Brittany was like, "You should get a pregnancy test," and I was like, "I'm not pregnant," because I had just had stomach flu. And
Mhm.
I was still nauseous while everybody else was fine. And I'm like, why am I still nauseous? Like, not even thinking. And she was like, you take a pregnancy test? I was like, no, I'm not pregnant. And she was like, I think you need to take a test. And so
We was all pregnant because
it was like immediate when I peed on that stick. And I was like, this means I'm not. She was like, Joy, you're pregnant. And I just sat there silent, terrified.
how I'm gonna do this? How I'm gonna be a dad?
He was like,
I can
he was like, what
imagine.
about puberty when we found out it was a girl? I was like, yeah.
I was scared.
But
That's
it was one of
perfect.
the happiest moments. Like Nyla was just everything. She was the
Y-
perfect little baby.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
that was a
awesome.
good time. I'll also say like just like holiday time, when the holidays come around and I cook and
Great
we try to create
traditions.
traditions. That's some of the happier times.
Yeah.
And then when me and Chris can like get away, which is not often, and just like enjoy each other's space, I would say those are some of the happiest times too. Because it's having babies so early on is hard to manage getting to know each other and stopping to smell the roses.
Absolutely.
So I would say those are some of my happiest
I love that. I love that.
Happy.
All right. So thinking more on happy moments. What about non-tangible gifts? I feel like we so easily can like remember the necklace, the earrings, the shoes. What
moments.
about non-tangible gifts? What is the best non-tangible gift you ever received?
I think for me, Chris pushes me because I'm not the risk taker. You
Mhm.
know,
Mhm.
I'm the strategic, more rigid personality. I'm a perfectionist. I like things a certain way.
Oh yeah,
All my friends know this.
Oh, we know.
I'll drink to that.
So I think Chris, what he gives me is helping me to, again, the whole stop and the smell the roses. Sometimes Chris has to push me off the cliff for me to do things. Even with
Mhm.
my photography, like I kept saying for years, like, oh, I want to do this. And he's like, why won't you just do it? Oh, well, I need to have this, this, and this. He was like, just do it. And then he bought me a camera. Um, but
Oh.
it wasn't just, the tangible gift, but it was just him pushing me. And he does that all the time, whether it be, whatever it is that I say I want to do. Um, I think the intangible thing that he gives me is encouragement. Um, and so that's important for me because a lot of times I won't try, and I think for me sometimes you have that little voice in your head that's like,
Mhm.
this ain't gonna be that high, ain't nobody gonna like it, and I have to push myself out of that. So he helps me a lot with that. The
Okay.
encouragement is
I love
definitely
that. I think my mind with your comment, Joy, just shifts when trying to think about like how our relationships reflect our relationship with God.
hmm
I think like just the encouragement alone, I feel like in this pandemic and everything we've been going through, like that has been heavy where God has been like in me and his relationship right now, just like encouraging us that this ain't it. It's hard right now, but uh,
I feel it in so many ways. This past year has been hell.
yeah.
So yeah, like I definitely have had a few encounters where I know it was God guiding me, talking to
Mhm.
me, leading me. Because there was a lot of times where I was like, you know what, f everybody, of this.
It
You
be
are
like
not
that.
alone.
And God kind of like steered me back home. So
Good.
I would say my intangible would be her consistency because I can be squirrel brain at times and all over the place.
Mhm.
She she challenges me to hone in and to focus, and she also supports me more than what I even realize at times,
Mm.
more than I get the credit for. And
Mhm.
so, as an entrepreneur, PhD student, husband, father, everything that I do in life, she's there holding me down consistently. And I know she gets tired, and that's on top of working a full-time job as well. So
Right.
working a full-time job and expecting her to do something other than or more than what she can is I've learned not to do that. But the intangible gift is her consistency,
Very consistent.
her love, her strong motherhood, her protection of our family when I don't see it, her foresight and hindsight, and her strategy. She's a great strategist, and sometimes to me, I can just I go outside with no coat in the wintertime. She will strategize for the whole month. So that's the difference between us. She'll have a coat, long johns, two sets of gloves, some hot hands. So that's the difference in our preparation. I'm one who just moves, and she's one who prepares. So I think the intangible gift is the fact that we balance each other. And
Yeah,
my weaknesses, my weaknesses are first thing, but we balance each other.
I love
When
it.
she's weak,
We
I'm
we
strong.
complement each other.
Yeah,
Yes, that's what you're supposed to do,
Yeah.
right?
it take time though. It took us.
Oh Lord,
It took,
and it's a process because sometimes I'll be like, dude, what are you doing right now? Like, I just want to smack him in the head. Like, what?
Absolutely.
It's a process. It's always evolving, especially as we get older. We're in our other side of 30s.
Mm-hmm.
So stuff is different. We have a 10-year-old going on 16, two wild, rambunctious boys, and trying to balance all that. So we always have to go back to the drawing board, prayer, guide,
100%.
strategy.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think, yeah, they perfectly like segued into the next question.
Yeah. So the next question is what, and I feel like you kind of already answered this. What are the three main things that you get from your marriage in particular?
Right. Because
we
you kind of mentioned the consistency, the
Yeah.
encouragement. Like, I feel like those two seem to
Yeah.
be coming off real strong. What else you got? What else you got? The challenge.
so Joy.
What's that supposed to mean?
Joy's gonna challenge those who she really loves. So if
Yeah.
she challenge you yet, then she don't love you.
What?
But no, I think we push each other. I think one of the things that is necessary for your relationships to grow, for our relationship to grow, was for us to push each other to do
Mm.
things that we don't feel confident enough to do, or don't feel secure enough within ourselves to do. And so
Yeah.
it makes it easier when like for me this dissertation I'm working on, and she was like, Chris, you got this.
Mm.
And for me, I'm someone who may need to hear that every day in order for me to feel motivated to write and research. Um,
Yeah.
but when she does say it, it helps. And it challenges me to consistently go because I know my kids need to see it, and I know all the labor she's been doing while I'm working and meeting with people to get my research done, that it's going to pay off. And so that challenge of getting stuff done, I think, is what we both provide. I would say that's my number one. You get number two?
Um, well, I kind of wanted to piggy, but I don't know if it might be challenge. So
Challenge in a good way, not a bad
yeah,
way.
yeah, in a
Yeah.
good way. So
100%.
like
Objective. Like this is your objective.
yeah, and for me, I don't know what word to give it, but it's another thing that I get out of marriage. I think with marriage, it exposes those areas where you think you good and
Mm.
got it together.
Yeah.
I think it exposes like your insecurities and fears, and especially because it's like your spouse, your partner will like agitate that stuff. So like for me, I can have a temper and a mouth.
Yes.
That yes was wrong.
Truth, shame the devil on this gospel channel. You can definitely.
And that's and honestly, you know, it was something like when I met Chris, I'm 18, 19 years old. And even at that age, like I was pretty independent.
Mm.
Most things that I wanted to set my mind to do, I was doing. And then just also growing up in my household, kind of made me grow a little bit earlier than some, like in different ways. Like the dynamic of my upbringing, I had both parents, but they didn't live together. So at home, I have to work. I'm helping, contributing to paying bills. And then when I met Chris, it's kind of like, well, I don't need to do that for me. I'm good. You know,
She
and
almost lost it.
and that showed up in our relationship, and that was something that I had to work hard for, even in marriage, because it's like I don't want him to feel my personal view is I don't want him to feel emasculated. And so
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had to, be humble enough to, not fall back or water down who I am, but I can reframe how I come to my husband.
Yeah.
And so that's something it's a work in progress. Like I have good days, I have bad days, but that's just an example of, stuff will get exposed that you think you're cool with, and then your
Mhm.
spouse be like, what is this? You need to something because we gonna have a
Girl.
problem. And we both done that with each other, so
Yeah.
it forces you to deal with those things because if you don't, your marriage will run amok, and it
Mhm.
can definitely have an impact. And I think it's the same thing with God. Like there's certain things that I feel like when it keeps coming up again, God is trying to tell me you need to look at this. You need to
Yes.
evaluate this space. There's some deliverance that needs to take place here, or there's some things that you need to come up in. Like for me with my trust, this past year has been hard with my trust and allowing God to lead and me not trying to say, okay, well, what's the blueprint?
Right.
Do I make a left or a right? Like
Right.
things. So
So true.
I agree with the exposure. There were things we got together. She was 18, I was 19, and so there were things that I came into our relationship with 19 years worth. We've been
Yeah.
together 17 years, and so but there were things that leading up to the 17 years, maybe 2, 3 years ago, that it clicked. It took 15 plus years to click. Like, hey, you got to deal with this.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But it was the exposure that she was in, and it was me letting go of the pride, and it was the challenging conversations of you need to deal with this, or this is going to destroy you, and you're going to destroy us.
Mhm.
So it was one of those things where, perfect example. Make a long story short, I had issues with my father because my father had passed away when I was an infant, and I never dealt with those issues. And I remember
Mm.
back in 2008 when I graduated with my bachelor's degree from NIU at 22 or however old I was, 2008,
like
23,
23,
yeah,
because we got married
23,
25.
yeah, 23. That's when it hit me like my dad's not here. Damn. So at 23, after I did this big accomplishment, now I'm forced to deal with the loss of someone
Mhm.
I knew or the absence and the feeling of rejection. And the whole time she was telling me probably 3 years prior to that, hey, you got some issues with your dad. And I'm like, shut up. You don't talk about this. You know, so we argue consistently, but I didn't see what she was seeing. I didn't see the
Mm.
exposure until I had an enlightening moment. And I'm like, oh, I do got to deal with stuff with my dad. And then fast forward 10 years after that, or 12 years after that, at 33, 35, I get the strength to deal with the stuff with my dad. And then I start to
Right.
Yeah.
be exposed to other things that were hidden from me. So um, exposure is key. I'll say the last one thing we get from our true companionship and genuine love for each other. Like I used to question it because me and all my guys were growing up. We're like, man, don't trust no female, man, don't trust no girl, don't trust. I know females use it as a derogatory term, but it was like, man, don't trust no woman. That was the
Right.
context, or from back in the day, and it took me years to build that trust with her to the point where I would do whatever I can to make sure she's good and that our children are good. Like I would, and it's mutual. It's like if we, God forbid, anything happen, but if something got to happen, understand that somebody going to jail and that person on the opposite side of my gun is going to hell. But for the most, that's that's this is
Oh, that's the quote. That's the quote of the night. That's the quote. Somebody going to jail and the person on the other side of my
My
gun.
gun is going to hell.
All right. I'm
Oh,
that from now on.
okay. So look. Okay, so I got a question. All right, and it's not on here, and I know Dominique gonna get me. But I can't help myself. All right, this will happen when we live. I'm so sorry.
sorry. Hey, it's your
Listen,
turn. You do
look, listening to y'all talk. One of the things I keep like hearing is vulnerability.
Come on,
The
prophet.
I can't stand Chris.
You know what? I'm logging off. It's vulnerable. I can't stand it. Vulnerability. And and then also like the boundaries that you all had to set around your marriage in order to create that safe space. Can y'all go into a little bit about like creating that safe space for one another to be vulnerable? Because I feel like a lot of people that you know uh we know that are married or even in like different relationships, boundaries in creating a safe space for that other person to be vulnerable enough to show you their scars and to show you where they're hurting is a place where they're lacking, because everybody is kind of like out for their own self. So can y'all go into like into that, into creating that boundary around your marriage and creating that safe space for one another?
Hmm. Wow, good question.
I should have wrote
I
that in the
think
question list.
I don't know. I think with us, it's been a journey. I think there were definitely times where Chris did not view me as a safe space, and again, it
Mm.
goes back to
But that's true though.
it's true,
Help,
and
help us.
it wasn't that there was intent behind it, but like if I give you a cake and it look nasty and the presentation is wrong, you're not gonna want it. And
Exactly.
and again, it's a journey still. Like sometimes to be careful on how I approach things so that he's receptive and feels like I'm a safe space for him.
Mm.
Um, and I think vice versa. I've had my moments where I felt like I really couldn't be honest about things because like I'm not a crier. I cry when
Mm.
I'm angry.
Only.
um,
Even in worship. God. God.
that's not true. I do cry in worship. I just don't like when Chris is looking at me because he be like,
But you
"Are
crying?
you crying?" Like, what is that?
You got emotions? You got what? Okay, no, I'm playing.
I'm not a big crier. So, in times when I do cry, I feel like I can't cry because why are you crying?
I'm flabbergasted.
Right, because he's surprised that I'm crying. So it's like, it's a journey for us to be comfortable, even as
Yeah.
long as we've been together. And it's from pride. It's from feeling like you got something to prove. Like,
Yeah.
it comes from those spaces, or you don't want to be looked at like weak. So I
Yeah.
think it's something we have to work on to be honest with each other about. And so we've had those authentic moments and coming to each other about different things, and just how we really feel. We've had a lot of those moments. And, in times when Chris was like, I felt like if I said this to you, you would think this about me. And
Yeah.
then I could affirm him and say, no, like, I'm just glad you being honest with me and vice versa. So it's something that we have to work on. Like you got to be honest. At the core of it, you got to be honest.
Yeah.
Because you're not gonna always come at everything with your whole self. Because
Right.
even no matter how long we've been together, I personally don't believe that because there's self discovery. You change, you evolve.
Hmm.
The things you like change. You get older, and so I think for us, those boundaries, and then just even boundaries around us. When I think about that, is just who we let in our space.
Yeah.
That's
That's
you know,
good.
I'm a watcher of people. I observe people. So, um, I don't just give everybody all the tea.
Right.
Like I listen to what people say, and then and I also feel like timing too. And if I discern like that there's something about a person, I'm gonna just be like, I'm gonna keep my distance. And it's the same thing I think with our relationship. Like we don't we let people in, but we're watchful of who we let in and what we expose. Like just be just putting everything out there. Even when it comes to like in our relationship, if we're having issues, we do have friends who we trust that we can have those
Hmm.
arguments, conversations with, or
Mm.
people that we can, get it, advice from who we know will be praying for us and who's going to tell us when we effed up and when we're wrong.
Hmm.
So I think those are the things that I think about as far as boundaries. between our in our relationship and just being vulnerable.
I would say with your first question to vulnerability is want the key is wanting to be seen,
Mhm.
understood. And so I want I wanted her to see me for who I knew myself to be.
Mhm.
And as transparent as I am and as I try to be in all my relationships, I want people to know that hey, I want the standard to be he's going to be honest and real at all times and in my relationship because I wake up to her every morning. I want her to know that she can be honest and safe with me and be vulnerable because I'm vulnerable with her. And so
Mhm.
vulnerability is I want to see her as well. I don't want her just to see me and I'm out here naked, you know. Um, but I want to see her naked too. And when I say naked, I mean so it's vulnerability, but I want to see her naked on a regular day. You get what I'm saying? So the issue is shit. When I say see naked like this, I want to see what's really going in your mind.
We
I want
get
to
it.
see what makes you tick. I wanna see let me know how you process it. How do we get here? And so it connects to belongingness, which you're talking about,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Danielle. It's actually a theoretical perspective. Actually, my research is on sense of belonging in my
Yeah.
PhD, and it's rooted in self-determination theory, the idea
Mhm.
of belongingness. So, quick point: self-determination theory talks about autonomy, competence, and relatedness. Relatedness is that sense of belonging piece.
Mhm.
Every relationship, every environment that you go to, you are looking to fulfill those three basic needs. So whether it be
Mhm.
a church, a job, a marriage, a relationship of any sort, you need to feel competent that you know what you're doing, autonomous that you have the freedom to be yourself, and
Mhm.
related, meaning the people that you're associating yourself with, you fit in. At
Yeah.
any point in time in a relationship where those three things are compromised, you disengage. And so
Mhm.
because you want to stay on the same page, we have to make sure that I have to make sure that we have a freedom within our relationship to be ourselves, that we're competent enough to understand each other and process what each other's going through, how we're going to raise these kids, what's the next move we're going to make, and be calculated with that. But also, I need to know that you accept me for me. And that's
Yeah.
the idea of belongingness and relatedness. I need to know that I fit in with the family that we build. And that's how that concept is what helps us, helps me, especially with it being part of my research, always create an environment for belonging. And that's with our children, that's with our friends, that's with our parents, that's with each other, that's with ourselves individually. We always have to create and cultivate environments, if that answers the question.
That's good. That look. He was about to take a text.
Going around the office.
Yes, I think that ties directly into kind of what we've been covering with the pod of just like Joy's point mentioning like having those friends that you can go to that you can trust with, what you're dealing with in your marriage because we don't have all the answers, right? We've never been through everything. So having that safe space in that community is one of the big things we talk about with our podcast of like you need that. And even in like the idea Chris brought up of relatedness and like having
Yeah.
people and things to connect to and feeling like, this space is helping you grow or helping you, push like any friendship, any relationship. Like if it's not doing that, why are you there?
Yeah. Yeah.
I
That
feel
was
like
good.
those are two of the big things that with friendships, marriages, relationships, even the relationship with God, like if you think you got a relationship with God, you will see the fruit, right?
Yeah.
You will see the growth, you will see the change, you will see where he challenges you, you'll see where, the like you said, the it'll expose a lot of the things that you need to fix.
Right.
Like if that's not happening, that should be the reminder that this relationship ain't headed where it's supposed to go.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe
Yeah.
you're doing something that you shouldn't be doing in the relationship.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so it's like it's good because when I look at the three factors that are a part of self-determination theory, if we connect those to God, we have to feel free in God,
Yeah.
to have knowledge of who God is in our lives.
Mhm.
We have to know that we belong in His presence.
Yeah.
Yes.
Those three
Oh,
things.
what a collection plate.
I mean,
No, I told you to take up a text.
I'm about to,
Preach.
sell my
y'all
shoes.
can cash at me an offering right now. I'm joking.
No, that's really good. That's really
Yeah.
good.
And you know what? That kind of ties into like one of our core beliefs in the podcast is to help millennial Christians to transition from religion to relationship.
Mhm.
And when you were talking about being free to be yourself, I just thought about how many of us are not free to be ourselves in our relationship with God because we have been indoctrinated with church and
Yes.
tradition,
Dog.
and it has caused us to
Charismatic
miss
bull,
out. What?
charismatic bull. Shot for 3 hours, sweating, weave all out, suit all tight and wet, and
Oh Lord.
Oh my God. Chris having
Oh,
flashbacks.
you're right.
look,
Let there be freedom.
Are you
Yeah.
triggered?
live
No,
free.
that's definitely
But
that's
it's
really
but it's
true.
but it's true. It's so true. And that's where the inconsistency in our relationship with God comes from because yo, we faking it. Like you lying to the person that made you
Hmm.
because
That's
you're trying to be something that he never expected you to be. You have an expectation that somebody else told you, and you never got to know God for yourself. And we can talk about that for a long time, but we gonna go into the next.
Push through, push through, push
oh,
On a Friday. What's going on?
through. I know it's a Friday night. I'm sure y'all
these summonettes.
right.
Look, this
Exactly.
is
I
why
can't
we
wait
was
to
afraid
go
to
back
go
to this.
live
I'm like,
because
I'm gonna be writing all these gems down for sure.
um, what's next? Blah, 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 blah. Okay, what question are we on?
We can do.
How
Yeah, go ahead.
let's see. How do you experience the love of God in your relationship?
Being transparent with each other and praying
Mm.
for each other. Because a lot of times, what I've learned is God is speaking through her to me. I just
Mhm.
refuse to listen.
Mm.
Ooh,
Then it smacks me in the butt. And I'm
my
like, "Dang,
God.
I should have listened to Joy. Joy was right." So then I got to come back to like, yeah, you're right. And so I think oftentimes we as men don't hear our wives
Mm.
because we're so used to the negativity.
Man.
Well, no, the I don't want to say this in an improper way, but we sometimes get used to the I don't want to say negativity, but
Negativity what?
maybe the complaints or the things or the pointing at
Nagging.
the nagging, yes, the
Mm.
things that we don't do consistently. So then when God is speaking through her, all I
Mm.
hear is like, "You nagging
Wah,
again."
wah, 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 wah.
Right?
Mm.
I Charlie Browned it. I turned it off, and I can't hear your true heart. And I think the key is hearing the heart of. I gotta hear her heart and understand
Yeah.
that she wants the best for us, not
Mm.
just for her. She wants the best for us. And I think when I can separate her voice from my voice, from God's voice, it makes it easier for me to listen to what's on her mind and how God is trying to communicate what He needs for us to do from her. Because as the man, I'm not gonna lie and say, "Oh, I hear it all." No, I,
Right.
I don't. I think we are co-laborers. We are a team. So there are things that you're gonna hear God, and there are things that I'm gonna hear God. And collectively, we want to combine what we see and hear and feel, and God's.
Mm.
And so it's the teamwork. That's what makes the dream work. So yeah, if that answers the question. I hope that answers the question.
Absolutely.
Um, I think for me, some of the ways that I experience it, it is back at prayer. Like when Chris, you know, prays for our family, um, or just kind of providing that guidance. That's important to me, and I feel like there's safety in that. So I feel like for me, like feeling like I have that covering is important,
Hmm.
that security, and I think a lot of women feel that way. Some might not. Uh, I think that's a way that I feel that in our relationship.
I love it. So we
When
said
she,
secure.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say when she affirms me and strokes my ego, I feel like that's God. And that sounds bad.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. Because you want to feel successful. You want to feel needed. You want to feel seen. That's what you said.
We need like men. I'm a ex athlete. I didn't go professional, but I went almost professional. I played semi pro. But
Mm,
even in playing in high school, we always had cheerleaders, right?
Yeah.
And we as men need cheerleaders. Even when we're losing, it helps to boost our morale. It
yeah,
helps to keep us going. It helps us to know that hey, somebody believes that we can still do it. And so, as a husband, I need my wife to be my best cheerleader. Because the minute
Yeah.
somebody else starts cheering me on or leading me on to another way because they're affirming me in ways where I'm not being affirmed at home, I'm going to start to look at the other team,
Yeah.
right.
meaning other cheerleaders. Uh, and that's going to control how I view what I'm doing. And so that's what I would say. Like
Not
God is
not
in
that
that.
you about to cheat. You
Right,
probably
right, right. No, no,
probably
no.
want to
So
just
I've never cheated on
Make
it.
that clear. Right.
We never cheated on
just
each other.
make it clear.
Yeah, but I'm saying when men don't get
Yeah, I
affirmed
get
by
it.
the
Yeah.
one who they're with, whether it be a dating relationship,
Yeah.
courting relationship, marriage relationship, grass starts to look green on the
Yeah,
other side.
it can definitely compromise the integrity of your fortress.
Right.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
That nurturing is valuable. Giving that affirmation from a man to a woman, I think, is just as valuable. You gotta, we
100%.
as men, I had to speak entrepreneur to her, and
Hmm.
I had to take action in order to. Now she's had multiple, well, she had another camera since the camera, but I knew she had something she wanted to do.
To do,
And I knew
yeah.
she was gonna pull the trigger, so I said, okay, let me affirm you in this. I'm gonna get to this camera. I'm gonna take. I shouldn't have. I did some things to get the money. I didn't do nothing illegal, but
So you sound real sus right now.
Chris, what is going on?
but no, I'm just saying like it's our job as men to affirm
Yeah.
the woman. You know what I'm saying? So that they know that they got the support
Yeah.
and they're safe and free to do what it is that they have a heart to do. And I think that's
Yeah.
strength.
Or even how you said earlier, like it has to be reciprocated. Like for you, there's a specific thing that she needs to do in order for you to feel secure. And for her, there's something different that she needs. And I think that's the same with like again, because we're making the connection between us and God, is like in order for God to feel secure that I'm following him or that, he has to know that I'm listening. He has to know that I spend time in prayer or, that I give him that time. And the same way for me, like I have to know that he's listening. That's when my prayers are answered or when that encouragement comes in. And I think those connections are really really good. And I kind of want to keep with that mindset of like thinking about advice. Like if you could say like this is what this is where like or how what we do in our relationship that allows us to continue to build our relationship with God, or some things that we do in our relationship and we put at the center that helps us to build that relationship with God too.
Mhm.
What advice y'all got?
For me, it's you have to have a strong foundation of prayer and community consistently. Because, like, I know we're kind of in that generation of the mass exodus of people from church.
Yeah.
And I get it. I totally get it. Um, but I think also when we're in our own little cubicle spaces, you start to kind of like, you start having these outlandish opinions about stuff, and you kind of like making your own decisions about stuff, and you really are not. There's no accountability there when
Mhm.
you're
Mhm.
on your own. So I feel like so you can stay connected with God. I think it is important that you're cultivating your own relationship and having that prayer time, and really studying Him through
Mhm.
prayer and the Word. But I also think you need to have that community of people who you trust, who help, that iron sharpening iron.
Mhm.
I'm a big believer in having mentors and people that can help to build me, especially like other women. And then I also, again, reciprocal, doing the same for other women who are younger than me and stuff like that. And having that discipleship, and it's the same thing with like, because it branches out with our kids, with our own
Yeah.
relationships, um, and having people that's gonna like call you out on your stuff. I think
Yeah,
all of those things keep you on your toes and remind you that your source is Him and not you.
I love
I would
that.
say I agree with everything she said. I would add to that be intentional with every relationship that you have, because I
Mm,
believe intentionality pushes purpose.
Mm.
Um, and if you're in relationships that or friendships or loving relational relationships, if that's the right word to use, without any intentions, you're just wasting time and
mhm.
space. And I know when I knew she was my wife when I first saw her, and so I was intentional after that moment,
Yeah.
and I ended up deleting and forgetting about every other girl who I was interested in talking to after I saw her, which is goes back to the very first thing she said earlier. You hiding me. I was hiding you because I wasn't sure on how to move.
Right. But you knew you didn't want to lose. He's like,
I I wasn't sure how to move, but knew I did not know how to
Dominic, don't be giving
didn't
him
want to
a
lose.
little stuff to
It's,
say
it's,
now. Like,
that's
I don't
it.
want to lose.
it's true though. I was intentional about getting to know her, becoming friends,
Mhm.
and spending time with each other. And even in the conversations we had, I was intentional because I wanted to see if she fit. And
Yeah,
so
Sorry, our baby's beside me.
it's okay.
the intentionality behind the relationship for me as a man, it helped me to see that she was who I felt she was.
Mm.
And my intentionality went against the negative words that people who were outside of our relationship were saying. It went against the doubts that I had, things that people would say that make me think that what I felt wasn't true.
Mhm.
And here we are today because of intentionality. So I think that's a component in all relationships. Like you become best friends with people, and it's like you see certain people, and you're like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be that person's friend. We're gonna
Mhm.
we're gonna be
Yeah.
tight, and that's how it happens, and that's when you know it's a lifelong camaraderie.
Yeah. Because I feel like you have to, like, I feel like they use the term of, like, with marriage more so to be like evenly yoked.
Hmm.
But like I feel like when I think of any relationship, whether my mama, my sister, like friends, like there has to be something that keeps y'all like, balanced, something that keeps y'all together in order for the relationship to continue. Cause like we said, as we grow and we change, like our love languages change, what we need changes, like, who we are at our core, sometimes it changes as we get older. And so, like you said, being intentional about the friendship, knowing that like I can see, us growing and both of you being willing to like push and pull in both. I think that's perfect to again the relationship with God and just our other natural relationships
That's
and
true.
just being able to do that.
That's valid. And when you said to even the yolk biblically, I used to always think they were talking about egg yolks, and I was just totally off. And but when you say it, I'm like, I'm gonna whisk the egg. Let's put the eggs together. So uh, two ox or cattle or whatever are pulling the sled or pulling, the giant utensil to, for harvest, right? And so
Mhm.
as they're walking together, those two ox or two cows have to be walking at the same pace.
Mhm.
But in order for the two ox to move at the same pace and not cause an imbalance within the machine that they're pulling, they have to understand each other's strengths and weaknesses.
Mhm.
And so if you don't understand, if I don't know that her left shoulder is hurt, I can't be a support and shift my weight to balance her.
Mhm.
And if she doesn't know that my leg hurt, she can't shift her weight or provide extra support to balance me. And so I think that in the term of equally yoked, we have to the key to it is understanding the strengths and weaknesses of the partner
Mm.
and accommodating and compromising so that those weaknesses can all be brought up, and those strengths can be brought up and given your strong.
Mm. Even to piggyback off what Christian said, I just had a thought because when you're talking about the yoke, it's just like you can't be in a relationship with somebody that's not willing to carry the weight with you.
That's good.
And I think a lot of times in relationships, we look.
That process.
uh, look, and a lot of times I feel like in relationships, we forget that there's a weight that we have to carry together. It is not one person carry all the weight. Like that's unequally yoked, baby. We're both in this together. We're both pulling or driving to purpose together. And I
Mhm.
think, that's a really good point that you had brought up. It's just like you gotta get it together. You gotta be willing to understand each other's strengths and weaknesses so that as you all are carrying this load, if you need to shift, you know to shift. If you need to slow down, you can slow down.
Yeah.
But if you all are not having the understanding that this relationship is going to require us both to carry, ain't no use to be in a relationship in the first place.
Yeah.
Back to reciprocity.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's what we lose as Christians too, of like thinking that, this, or from the outside looking in, because I feel like when you really have a relationship or really start to read the word for yourself, the way that you view like your trials and tribulations and things you go through is gonna shift, because it's like, okay, this is building me up for something better. But I feel like on the outside, they see Christianity and they're like, oh, y'all supposed to be perfect. Y'all supposed to be able, everything's supposed to be in place. Y'all
Yeah,
supposed to be loving. Y'all never fight, never curse, never, like, there's this expectation for us. And I feel like that's why we can't draw as many people anymore. I feel like that's why so many people are leaving the church, because we're putting these like strict, like, if you're a Christian, this is what you have to be like. But it's like, my relationship with God is different from Joy's relationship with God. Like,
yeah,
what God is building Joy in is not going to be the same as what he's building me in. So like, how can we have this cookie cutter Christian
Yeah.
if, he's meeting us where we are and developing us in his own way? And I feel like all of the ideas that you all brought up are just like, it has to go past like, I just want this relationship to say that I'm in this relationship.
yeah,
Like, there has to be a purpose or a drive behind every step of it.
yeah. That's good.
And I think, yeah, that's really good. Okay, so we skipped a couple questions, didn't make it, and I want to be conscious of y'all time, but I do want to like do like for the people who kind of came in, came back out. Um, a couple things that stood out to me, and I want to make sure that we get this and hold on to this, and like, it's definitely going to be something that I start to think about too when thinking about just topics and ideas when it comes to like your earthly relationships and how they reciprocate into your godly relationships. Like, one of the things you said of like, I think it just still stuck with me. I can't look past that part of it, of just like, I think Chris or Joy, marriage exposes your insecurities.
Mm,
And I think God does the same thing.
Mhm.
And so, like, that one alone, like relationships, marriages, like in your relationship with God, get ready to be exposed. Like, I just want to put that out there because I feel like in every situation, that's the reality. Um, I think, I mean, I'm gonna keep quoting. I told you I'm gonna steal Chris quote. It ain't going nowhere. Um, because he was talking about like being like having genuine love, right? You were talking about like the quality of love and protection y'all have for each other. And he was like, somebody going to jail and the person on the other end of my gun is going to hell. Like, I get that. But like, to be solid and to really say y'all together, like, that's the mood that has to be
yeah,
behind it for
I
sure.
fight a baby.
You said what?
I fight a baby and a pit bull at the same time.
My dad's quote, he used to say the same thing about my mom and us, but he would say, I choke a brick, kill a stick, and put a crowbar in the hospital. That was his
That's
go-to.
strong love right there.
Right? But yeah, those couple really stood out to me. And then I think also just like the community aspect. You said
Yeah,
consistent prayer and community, having those people in your corner, mentors, you said discipleship, and being intentional about every relationship. I feel like we as Christians, like even how Chris said of like relatedness, that's what Christianity is about. It's about, being around like-minded people, people who can keep you uplifted, and also being able to go out and reach other people. So like the biggest part of discipleship or being a Christian is drawing other people to Christ.
yeah,
And I feel like that's with relationships in general. Like if you are able to draw other people, and that's not to say be a people pleaser because you don't want to draw everybody, but to be intentional about it. Those are a couple that like really stuck with me from this.
yeah. I like the aspect of putting in this work. Okay, I love that the trial and error, the fact that you all challenge each other, the challenge to be consistent,
Mm,
in everything that you do. And one of my favorite has to be intentionality drives purpose. You got to be about it. Period. You got to be about it. And so many people, I feel like we on autopilot. We not like we're just out to get whatever we can get, and we're not thinking about, this person is in my life for a reason. God has placed this person in my life for a reason. I don't want to miss out what God has for me that's coming out of this relationship.
mhm.
But because of the culture, cancel culture, and just being selfish altogether, a lot of times we miss out because it's not coming in the package that we want it to come in.
Yeah.
We're not getting it the way that we want to receive it. And I think that's also what we miss out on God. It's just like if you read the Bible, God will package things in a way that you don't expect it.
Mhm.
You expecting your deliverance to come from one way, your deliverance is in the palace. Okay, you expecting you expecting this great warrior, and the person who's here to kill Goliath is out there with the sheep.
She's so silly.
So,
Preach,
so
Bubbles, preach.
don't so
Serving the sheep.
don't get so caught up in how you are expect lose the expectation.
Basically.
No, lose the expectation. Allow God to be God. Stop trying to treat God as if he's a genie. Stop trying to act as if you already know what God is going to do, what his intentions are about you. If you ain't even read your Bible, read your Bible. Because the God that you know, the God that you were taught about in church, might differ from the God that you actually learn about in the Bible.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's it. Praise
Man,
God.
I appreciate y'all. This was really, really good. Thank y'all for being our first
Thank you.
ones. Like,
Yeah,
y'all made this a
Thanks for
great first experience.
thank you. It was great.
yeah, well,
Appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely. We gonna end with the last thing that we asked y'all to come up with. So one of the things that we really want to do, like we said, is to connect our relationship with God with our natural relationships. And so when I think about, and me and Bubbles, we're thinking about this question.
Because
Hey,
my name say
because
Danny right here.
I can't, everybody else know us, Danny. That's Bubbles. Well, anyway, but when we think about it, like I really like I'm newly married too, and so like all of this stuff y'all talking about, I was just like, oh, yep, already. And it felt really good to hear like a more seasoned couple to be like, it's a process and
It's a
we're
lot of
still
confirmation. Yeah.
learning and it's still a journey. Like that was really, really encouraging for me. And I think like being able to see like different relationships and really being able to focus in on how I'm trying to develop my relationship with God and with my husband, it's like really good to see how God shows himself so differently, but so strong in every situation. So the last thing we asked y'all to do was to give us an affirmation. So we asked you to fill in a blank. And the space says, our marriage has been a reflection of God's blank for me. Do y'all have different ones or y'all got the same one?
think we got different ones.
Different ones? Okay, I don't want you to get no explanation. I want you to put it in a sentence and just say it.
Just
Our
fill in the
marriage has been a reflection of God's blank for me.
Our marriage has been a
A
reflection
reflection.
of God's favor.
Ooh,
I like that. Favor.
that's good.
I would say our relationship in marriage has been a reflection of God's fight for me.
Mm.
Oh,
Okay.
Okay.
I love both of those. Fight and favor.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
That's beautiful. Well, I hope he continues to show it. I hope he continues to just like grow and develop y'all in every way. I look forward to supporting y'all. And we need a photo shoot anyway, so we might be reaching out soon.
Most definitely.
Um, I'm Chris. Like honestly, you always come to mind. I've been like contemplating for a long time because obviously it don't make sense for me to just go throw away all my clothes. But I ain't got no style. Like I'm a t-shirt and leggings. That's it. Like
Praise the Lord. Amen.
to grow up. I'm grown now, and I need to grow up.
t-shirt and leggings.
That's no, not even jeans, because you won't even catch me putting on jeans. Like it's so ridiculous. So I'm gonna reach out for sure. Y'all go support Say So Fresh, right?
Yep, that's
Say
it.
So Fresh stylist and Joy
Joy
Mitchell
Yep.
photography.
Instagram
Joy Mitchell.
and my website. Same.
Perfect,
Say So
perfect.
Fresh on Instagram. Say So Fresh on Facebook. Say So Fresh is my website. Say not Stay So Fresh. You know I can do that, but it's Say So.
Say so.
See this
With the
little
little
bird?
parrot.
That's my little my urban clothing line logo. Right here.
I remember when he came out
Perfect.
with that parrot logo. I
Sorry,
remember
the
that.
same logo. Got it tatted on me. So you're going to hell. I'll see you there first.
Chris.
You are best.
Found Jesus because Jesus would have had to too if he was alive.
That's so funny. All right. You still any parting words, parting thoughts, any last things y'all want to give to the people?
Um, I can't think of anything. Last words?
Yes. Make sure you're intentional with your relationships. And if you found yourself challenged, worried, depressed, upset, feeling anxiety within your relationship, and you have not communicated that with your spouse, I encourage you not to go to the church, but to find a counselor, a mental health specialist who can help you
Mm.
through your situation, and then go to church.
Yes.
You could do both.
Yeah, do both.
That
That's what I'm
counselor and Jesus shirt is real.
It is, and we in full transparency, I just say it. We both see me and Angel be cool with it. We can be cool with it now.
I guess I have no choice.
We both see a specialist for our own things,
Absolutely.
and it helps us to be able to come back together and be
Mm-hmm.
transparent, be vulnerable, because the things I was holding on for 19 years prior to meeting her, I'm stronger, and I feel I can let it go. And
Yeah.
it's even count within our relationships independently and to collectively we're able to cope, not just cope and let it deal with us, but we're able to conquer it. So anything you have, because past informed traumas within relationships always inform
Yeah.
reactions in
Absolutely.
situations. And so I encourage anybody and everybody, if you didn't hear nothing else we said, see somebody who can help you process through you. And then once you see somebody to help you process through you, you can then see somebody to help you process through your relationships. Because
Mhm.
if you yourself aren't right, then you will never have a right relationship.
Whew.
That's facts.
That's
That's
perfect.
good. That is
That's perfect. Y'all connect straight to our closing of like our reminder for this season from season 1. If y'all didn't get a chance to go see it, we talked about this so much that we're going to close out always reminding you to check in with Jesus, check in with your therapist
right now.
right now, and check in with your friends because you need your community, you need Jesus, and you need help.
You need help. Look, you got to talk to get a therapist. I've been in therapy for what 4 years. It has been the best. Joy Mitchell was my first therapist. I was on her couch, and because I thought I was gonna lose my mind,
I think
Okay,
she used me for one of her
that's fine. Use me.
studies or something like that.
You
Okay,
know,
because I was going
Yeah.
through. I was
Now that
going
I think
through.
about it.
And then Chris did say something I ain't like, and I said, Chris, shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. But then he, but then he was also right. So I apologize. I repent on
Look,
national television.
nationals, I can't.
Ah,
But again, thank y'all so much. We appreciate y'all for being our first interview. These are the Mitchells. Y'all heard it from the Mitchells. Take their advice. Take their advice. And we are out. Thank y'all for tuning in. Love y'all. Be safe. Peace out.
Thank y'all.
bye.
Bye. Thank you.